Yes. That is the conch. That is the conch to welcome in one of the biggest white whales in the annals of the grade cricketer. It's been a little while since we've snared a white whale. Can I hear that conch again, actually? Thank you. With 79, here's some numbers. It's been a while. 79 tests, 6,000 plus runs, 19 tonnes at 51.52 to go with 5,500 ODI runs at 48, 22,000 first-class runs at 52, high score of 331 red. Hello, it's Shield, it's baggy green, it's IPL, it's everything. Various obstacles have impeded us from linking with this man to this point, but the boys never stop in their pursuit of the greats. He goes, few people link the golden era with the current era like this man. It's one of West Australia and Australia's finest. Welcome to the grade cricketer, Mike, sometimes Maurice Hussey. Huss.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for the great introduction. Pleasure for me to be on the show. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a bit nervous, I've got to say, but I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Huss, it's a special moment for us, and for that reason I'd like to start old school. As one of Australia's most gluttonous compilers of runs, what is your relationship to grade cricket? What sort of pain were you inflicting on hapless clubbies as you were coming through the Perth ranks?
I love my time in grade cricket. Played for the Wanneroo Districts Cricket Club north of Perth. When I first started out there, the ground was just surrounded with market gardens, so no one wanted to come there. The flies were horrendous. It stunk of manure. The pitch was tough to bat on, but we loved it. You know, the Mighty Roos, we'd fight out some good sort of hard wins and sing our song loud and proud and have a few beers in the sheds afterwards. So it was a good time of my life. Thoroughly enjoyed it and, always cherished my time playing grade cricket.
And I feel like back in the days when, firstly, players played club cricket, and secondly, like I'm thinking about Perth grade cricket in your era, Huss. There's got to be some names knocking about and some older players bullying you.
Plenty actually. I remember bowling my filthy leg spinners against Jeff Marsh, and he was sort of out of the Australian team at that stage, still playing Shield cricket. And I was just bowling these beautiful loopy leg spinners up into the breeze, hoping they'd drop. And literally they kept going into the trees over my head. I don't know. I think he was hitting me for 4 or 5 sixes and over. And so that wasn't too good for the ego. And we all know what Jeff Marsh was like. He was a Billy blocker. You know, he'd be happy to bat all day and block the living daylights out of him. So to get hit by Jeff Marsh for about 12 sixes straight back over my head into the trees at Kingsway Reserve was not fun. Certainly a fair bit of sledging along the way as well. But there was one guy I had on my team was Damien Martin, and coming out to watch him bat was pretty impressive. But he used to bully opposition bowlers better than anyone I've ever seen. Quite often he'd turn up quite late. Quite often he'd turn up smelling maybe not the best from the night before. But he'd come out and start charging the opening bowlers and smashing them to all parts of the ground pretty early. And so it was pretty good to be at the other end of that and watching Marto in action.
Huss, I want to dive, into the Ashes. We're on the precipice of the first Test match, of course, in a month or so's time. Your Ashes story started in 2005. Now, there was a white ball series before the 05 Ashes that you were a part of, and I want to talk about the famous haunting in Durham. Now, this is via the ABC at the time. Australia world champion cricketers have been spooked by the legend of 700-year-old ghosts at their ancient Durham hotel, with all-rounder Shane Watson so rattled he slept on the floor of Brett Lee's room. Now, what the fuck was going on?
Well, I didn't have any problem sleeping at all. I was tucked up in bed, slept like a baby the whole time. I do remember staying at the castle. I think it was Lumley Castle, just behind the ground there at Chesterley Street in Durham. Great hotel. I absolutely loved it. I still remember Gilly telling the story. He went into his bedroom, so checked into the hotel, into the room, and he couldn't find the bathroom. So he's looking around everywhere. He had to call concierge to come to his room and show him that there was the third book on the bookshelf that you had to pull down to be able to open up the secret door to get into his bathroom, into his in his hotel room. So that was pretty cool. I mean, we explored that whole hotel. There was like secret passageways going here, there, and everywhere. It was amazing. We were playing pranks on different people, scratching at their door, hiding in cupboards and sort of scratching at doors and things to try and scare them. And I didn't realise Watto and Brett Lee would be so scared. You know, these two big sort of alpha males, petrified. And it was actually quite funny when we played the game the next day. The England team caught a bit of wind of it. And when Watto was out there batting, I think he was at the non-strikers end, Darren Goss kept coming up to him and going, pretending he was a ghost and sort of trying to scare him at the non-strikers end. So it's a memorable trip, that's for sure.
Was that the same? That was the same series, wasn't it, Huss, where Kerry Packer was sending dispatches to the Australian team to bring Hussey in to the side? Like, how good does it feel to know that Kerry Packer was watching going, get Hussey in?
Yeah, I must admit, I did hear that sort of towards the back end of the Ashes series. And obviously, we all know it was probably one of the most famous Ashes series of all time. And it was really building up towards that fifth test. And there was a bit of pressure on Matty Hayden. Does he keep his place? Does he not? And Packer was saying, yeah, bring me in and all that. And I'm in the background. I'm thinking, don't you dare bring me in. I don't want to be the reason Australia lose the Ashes here. If that was my first test match, to come in the fifth test match of the Ashes and we lose and, England win the Ashes, and it's, that was my first experience of Ashes cricket. It might have scarred me for life. So I was praying like heck they didn't drop Matthew Hayden for that last test. I did not want to come in for that last one under all that pressure.
You achieved just about everything there was to achieve in the game, Huss, but in recent times, according to some, you played in the worst Australian side of all time, that being the 2010-11 series against what is undoubtedly the greatest England side of all time, apart from this one, where none of the 10-11 players would make it into that into this side. So, I mean, how bad were Australia and how good are England now?
Well, that's a tough question, isn't it? Like, far out. Is that a bit of a dig? And so, what was the question again? How bad are England now?
Well, no, I'd ask. I mean, how good was that 10-11 England side?
Yeah, they were good. They were very good. I mean, we were in a little bit of transition. Obviously, we'd sort of lost a few players, and we're trying to develop some new guys coming through. A couple of our key players didn't have great series. Obviously, Ponting and Michael Clarke didn't score a hell of a lot of runs, which normally they would. So that's going to hurt us a fair bit along the way as well. And England were just sort of in that sweet spot. They kept like a core group of really good players together for about 4 or 5 years. They were sort of seasoned, hardened players at that stage. And I think the other thing about that series, they actually prepared really well. They came and played about 4 or 5 Sheffield Shield games and games against Australia A to really get them used to the Australian conditions. So they were absolutely primed for that series. And, unfortunately, got the better of us.
Huss, you've actually been in the inner sanctum of this English side. I know not everybody, but you coached. You were a batting coach for them in 2022, I believe, at the T20 World Cup. So I just want to ask, do they have any weaknesses? And if so, as someone who's been in that inner sanctum, are you permitted to raise them publicly, even if it's constructively, gently, or fairly?
Geez, I feel like I'm under in a court of law here, sort of under the pressure of a lawyer, sort of hammering me with questions, and I've got to make sure I answer this with a very straight bat. I mean, of course they've got weaknesses. I mean, everyone has weaknesses, and I mean, there's nowhere to hide now as an international player. The analysis on every player all around the world is unbelievable. How deep they dive and exactly where to bowl, but you still got to be able to execute that. So yeah, of course. I mean, they're just like anyone else. They've got the same fears and doubts and clouded minds as every other player around the world. So I mean, I think it's going to be an unbelievable series. I think where England have got a chance is that they're going to get so much belief from their leaders. McCullum, he won't take a backward step. Ben Stokes, they're both, very competitive people. They're both very positive people. They're both gamblers in a lot of ways as well. So they're going to really take it on. But we know the Aussies aren't going to take a backward step, especially in Australian conditions. So I think it's going to be an awesome series. I don't know. I think Australia should start favourite, but I think it could be very, very close.
Huss, I feel like a lot of people forget the main story of Jason Gillespie's 200 in Bangladesh, and that being your 182 and running out the captain. Now, I remember at the time Matthew Hayden saying that if Dizzy got to 200, he was going to run around the ground naked. Fast forward 20 years, and he has made the same promise if Joe Root doesn't score 100. Why does Doss want to run around grounds naked?
I have no idea. And I tell you what, seeing him yesterday, I don't really want to see him running around the field naked either. You know, he's a huge unit, and yeah, I mean, Haydos loves these big calls, and yeah, it would be nice if he followed through with them, but it's not a sight I don't think the Australian public need to see. So let's just maybe let that one slide, and but yeah. I mean, there's some great memories there. Dizzy Gillespie scoring a double hundred. I batted with him for a lot of that time, and the funniest bit about it was he kept ticking off all the great players. Like he'd pass Mark Waugh's highest score and say, "Oh, I've got Junior covered now, past him," and then he'd tick off Damien Martin. "Oh, I've just passed Marto. Oh, I've just passed someone else," and he just kept ticking off all these great players. But he really wanted to get Steve Waugh, and I think Steve Waugh's highest score must have been like 201. And literally, as soon as Dizzy got to the 200, bang, declared, there's no way he's passing Steve Waugh. So I think Dizzy was spewing that he couldn't get past Tugger.
Just on the naked thing, like of your teammates, you said you don't want to see Haydos run around the ground naked. Like, is there anyone you'd like to see run around the ground naked? It's okay if the answer's no.
No.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I want to ask about your international career, Huss. It started relatively late. It was 30, I believe, and like I've always wanted to know in the most respectful way possible. Despite your incredible numbers, do you ever wonder what you might have achieved if you commenced as a kind of a prodigy at age 22 to 25? Do you ever wonder if the 79 test could have been 130, and the captaincy might have begged, or you might have hit the stratospheric heights that the game can offer? Because I wonder about these things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and probably think, I'd be probably about 5,000 runs past Sachin Tendulkar, the leading run scorer in the game, and the most centuries, the most wins, the most Ashes wins, most World Cup wins, probably all those things put into one. And then, unfortunately, I wake up in the morning and it's just a dream. So, I would have loved an opportunity earlier, but I guess the good thing for me was at least I had. When I finally got picked, I had a great understanding of my game. I knew what I needed to do to score runs. So I'm sure if I got picked as a youngster or a younger player, I would have had a lot more ups and downs. And to be honest with you, like a lot of us, we're mental nutcases. And if I had have played earlier and not played well as I was trying to figure it all out, I might have been in a psychiatric ward for 2 or 3 years of my life. So I'm probably, in a lot of ways, I would have loved an opportunity earlier, but in a lot of ways, I'm quite grateful that I had to really just work away in the background, learn about myself, learn about my game. And then when I was picked, I knew I was ready and ready to perform well, ready to be consistent and able to keep my place in the team for a fair few years after that.
It's a really interesting comment and experience, mate, particularly in relation to the current team. I notice recently you again in very sensitive, in a very sensitive way and thoughtful way, noted that you felt Sam Konstas, for example, could use 2 years at least, in the Sheffield Shield to finesse his game. And I wonder if that's based, at least in part on your own experience, where you had to have, your game was completely ready to go. You probably waited too long, you know what I mean? But is that the sense that you get with Sam, that he would really benefit from some time finessing those rougher parts of his game before he comes into the side?
Without doubt, 100%. We forget that he's only, a 19, 20-year-old kid. He's only played a handful of first-class games. He's obviously got enormous talent, and he's got a big future, hopefully, ahead of him. But he's still got to learn a lot about himself as a person. He's got to learn a lot about his game. Even we're sort of seeing in his very short career, he's changing the way he plays quite a lot. We're seeing all the scoops and the ramps and things like that. But then we'll sort of see him, okay, now today I want to knuckle down. I just want to sort of play a normal sort of inning. So he's got to figure out what works well for him. Even when I came in at 30. The thing that no one can prepare you for is when you hit that international stage, the attention on you just grows exponentially. So even though I'd had I had my game in good working order. I knew exactly what I needed to do to play well. I understood my game, but I was still not prepared for dealing with the extra media attention, the commentators talking about you all the time, them picking apart your technique, the time that sponsors want to, that need your time for, charities, media, all that sort of stuff that just gets heaped on you as well. Think of this poor young kid. He's 20 years of age. He's still a baby when it comes to learning about his own game. He's got no idea what his best game looks like just yet. And he's got to try and deal with all this external sort of attention as well. It's almost impossible for him to come out and be consistent, on the field. So, there's no doubt in my mind that if we fast forward another 4 or 5 years, his game will be in a much better place to help him perform consistently on the highest stage. But also, hopefully, he's a bit more rounded as a person to be able to deal with all those external distractions as well.
Let's take you back to the Ashes, Huss, and obviously winning away from home is so difficult, extraordinarily difficult. Only two sides have done that in this century so far. But I mean, you played in one away Ashes, 2009. No one's obviously won it there from Australia since 2001. I mean, there's been some chances to do it since then, I suppose. But in that series, it was 1-1 going into the final Test match. You just won the fourth Test by an innings. Like, is that one that you think has got away from Australia there? Was that an opportunity?
Yeah, it was a big opportunity. It was really disappointing. It was a tough series all round. Like, it really ebbed and flowed. I think, obviously it was disappointing to lose at the Oval. I mean, the toss was pretty important there. And, unfortunately we lost the toss and we're always sort of on the back foot after that. But the one that really stung us was the first Test match. We should have won down in Cardiff, where I think Jimmy Anderson and Monty Panesar batted for, I think, more than an hour, 9 down, and they saved that Test match for England. And that was a real hammer blow there. We could have been 1-0 up in that series right from the word go, won another one sort of at Headingley, and then we're pretty much the series is done. So, that was really, really disappointing. But the day at the Oval was probably the worst feeling I've ever had on a cricket field. I mean, you've spoken about a lot of great moments and a lot of great memories that I've had, but I was the last man out in that Test match at the Oval. And, so I was the one that sort of cost us the Ashes in the end, and that was a horrible feeling. Sitting in that dressing room, I was basically on my own just with Ben Hilfenhaus in the rooms. Everyone else was out on the ground, and I don't know, I just had my head down. I had tears pouring out of my eyes. It was a horrible feeling to have. So, it was a really disappointing finish to the tour.
And you just made 120.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I got a duck in the first innings. And for some reason, we had the commentary on in the dressing room, and we don't normally have that on. And I remember listening to Ian Chappell before my second innings, and he was saying, "Well, this is going to be Mike Hussey's last innings. He's done. He's too old. We've got to try some new players. His career's finished. This will be his last Test innings." And I remember listening to it, thinking, "Oh gosh, if this is going to be my last Test innings, I don't want it to be one filled with like stress and pressure and anxiety and." Horrible sort of memories. So I'm just going to go out there and just relax and enjoy it. And then what will be, will be. If I get out for nothing, well, so be it. But I don't want my last feelings on a Test match arena to be ones of horrible feelings. So it's amazing when you just take that pressure off yourself. Then you relax, go out there, and you can play your best cricket. Had a bit of luck and managed to get 100 and save my career. I think I was able to play for another 3 or 4 years after that.
Yeah.
We hear so many stories of players who find that place of peace and relaxation towards the end of their career, and they benefit because of it. If I could link that to the way England play their cricket at the moment, which seems almost like fundamentally based on that idea. Like it's like Bazball is a feeling, that they're trying to build. Do you look at the way this current England team plays and wonder if you might have liked to play in that kind of environment, if you would have benefited from it, or is it separate to that piece that you found towards the end?
I think what I would have enjoyed about the England environment at the moment, I mean, I would have struggled trying to play all those shots that they play, ramps and scoops and all that. But what I would have enjoyed was that they get enormous backing. So Zach Crawley's a good example where he was doing okay, he'd make a score, but he'd miss out 4 or 5 times, and they just kept backing him. Said, "Nah, you're our guy." Kept trusting him, kept backing him, and knowing you've got the backing of the coach and the captain gives you a lot of confidence. I mean, the great Australian teams that I got to play in, that I was very lucky to play in, was similar in that you were able to go out and play your way, and you felt like you had great backing from the selectors and from the captain and the coach. And so that gives you so much confidence. The only thing I might have struggled in this English team is if there was pressure put on me to have to score it like 6 and over or something like that. Then I would have struggled under that pressure, thinking I'm not feeling like I can get on top of this bowler, but I've got to try and take a chance. The expectation from the coach, and if I didn't take the chance, then the coach is going to be sort of on my back, and I wouldn't have enjoyed that sort of part of it. If that is indeed what is going on, I mean, I don't know if that's what's going on or not, but if I would have felt that external pressure, if the expectation is to score at a very fast pace. But in the Australian team that I was part of, it was just, you've got to go out there and just play your way. At your best, your game, that's good for Australia and that's good for the team.
Can I ask you, Hussey, I'd like you to try and articulate something like Andrew Flintoff, for instance, was just a colossus in England. Like, you look at his overall Test record, and it's like it's good, but it's not as amazing as what a great player he was, especially in Ashes series, right? I mean, some of the spells he was bowling in that sort of 8-year period maybe for England were just incredible. But when he came to Australia, it just wasn't the same threat. And obviously, there's conditions and it's a different ball. But like, what was your experience like facing Flintoff, for instance, in England compared to in Australia?
Yes, good question. I mean, I think I got Flintoff in the 2006-7 series when he was captain of England. They'd come off the 2005 win. They were full of confidence, but he had been battling a knee injury for a while. And so I don't think he was at full fitness, not even close to full fitness when he was trying to charge in. But he's such an inspirational character, and when the game's on the line, it's a bit like Ben Stokes as well. You look at their stats and you think, they're okay, but it's the impact that they can have on games, and the way they, when the chips are down or it's a tough period of play, they grab the ball and they grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and that's what's quite inspirational about those sort of players. And Freddie Flintoff was exactly like that. But it's a good point that you make. I mean, I found more so with Jimmy Anderson, to face him in England was an absolute nightmare. The skill he had, the control he had, the way he could just move that ball both ways, not lightning pace, but decent pace on those pitches was just almost impossible to face. But you get him in Australia where the ball didn't do as much, the pitches were truer, bit of extra pace and bounce. He was actually a lot easier to face, in my experience. So there's definitely, the conditions definitely come into it quite a lot. Flintoff, in that 2005 Ashes series, he looked like he would have been an absolute nightmare to face. He was bowling close, 150 odd. He could swing the ball both ways. He was brutal with the reverse swing, the old ball as well. He loved the crowd as well. Like, the crowd was sort of really firing him up. He could sense the occasion. He wanted to be the centre of attention as well. And it was just that perfect storm for someone like Freddie Flintoff there.
Huss, we're a month out from the Ashes. There are several injury and fitness questions in the Australian team. There's 1 or 2 Sheffield Shield games. There's several international white ball games. Who is your absolute locked-in Australian 11 for the first test?
Well, yeah, I must admit I'm nervous about injuries as well. I mean, Pat Cummins is going to miss the first couple. First one at least, but it might be more. Losing your captain and your best fast bowler is not a great start. Obviously, we've still got a good attack around that with Hazelwood, Stark, Scotty Boland and Nathan Lyon. So they're your 4 bowlers. But I'll tell you what, if one of those got injured, then we're starting to go down to the next echelon of bowlers. Your Sean Abbotts, your Brendan Doggett's, your Michael Neser, your Xavier Bartlett sort of type, which, they're very good first-class bowlers, don't get me wrong, but they're not as good. They're just not as good as a Pat Cummins or a Josh Hazelwood. So, I'm nervous about more injuries if we get any more, But as it stands, that would be my 4 bowlers, which is pretty straightforward. You've got Alex Carey will keep. I'm going to open with Usman Khawaja. I've got Marnus Labuschagne at 3. Steve Smith at 4, Travis Head at 5. I've got Cameron Green at 6. So I'm just looking for an opener at this stage, and that's the only one I'm not sure on. I'm really tossing up at this stage, probably between Jake Weatherald and Matt Renshaw. They're probably the 2 that are sort of standing out to me at the moment. Yeah, as I said before, I think Sam Konstas, I like him as a player, but I think he just needs some time in first-class cricket for a couple of years to really just hone his game a little bit more.
And no Slug. You're dropping Slug.
I mean, it's a tough call, isn't it? I'll make him the 12th man. I think he's done well, since he's played. He hasn't done too much wrong. But I'm tossing up between him and Cameron Green for that number 6 spot. And I just think Cameron Green's probably a better package at the moment. So his bowling's going to be really important. Especially with no Pat Cummins, they're going to need some really high-end, high-quality sort of overs from Cameron Green. So, it's a tough team, to get into, the Australian team, and that's what it should be. And for Bo Webster, unfortunately, just misses out.
You've this last one from me, Huss. I sort of detect in the tenor of the conversation around the traps about the Ashes. England are being talked up a lot, and a lot of holes are being picked in the Australian team. England are quick. They bowl fast. They're tall. They score quickly. They're positive. They relax very hard. They play golf, and Australia are old and injured. And we don't have a top 3. Do you think that's a fair reflection on how we should be promoting or pumping up the series, or as you said earlier, Australia's still going favourites despite this?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to build England up somehow, don't we? We've got to try and make it interesting. Create a bit of hope and a bit of hype before the series. No, I mean, England, they've been planning for this series for a long time, and they've got a clear plan. As you said, they're going to try and hit the Aussies hard with pace, but you've still got to be able to bowl with good quality as well. It's no good coming in and just bowling 150 k's an hour and spraying them all over the place, because guys like Travis Head, Steve Smith, Usman Khawaja they're gonna snack on that all day, and they'll score very quickly. So, the likes of Archer and Wood and Atkinson, they've still got to hit good areas, and they've still got to do it in Australian conditions for long periods of time. The pitches are different over here; they're harder. You got to work hard. It's hotter over here. You're going to have to charge in and come back second spell, third spell, fourth spell. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for those guys. A lot of their batters, they haven't played Test match cricket in Australia before. Some of them have experience in Australian conditions, but Test match cricket's different, especially against a high quality attack. How will they handle the extra pace and bounce? They are going to be aggressive, so they're going to create chances for our bowlers. They're going to, there's going to be lots of opportunities for wickets as well. So, there's still a lot of question marks over this England team and whether they can perform in Australia. But what they will have, they'll come with belief and they'll come with confidence because of the way Stokes and McCullum will lead them. They'll instill that belief in them. But you still got to go and execute it for over 5 days. In 5 Test matches, it's not going to be easy.
Mike Hussey, so special for us to have you on the show. Thanks so much for coming on and for your time. We haven't had the chance to talk about Maurice Hussey, but perhaps we'll do that in another forum if you read between the lines there. So, Mike Hussey, thanks so much for coming on.
No worries, boys. Enjoyed it. And, keep up the good work.